Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Comix Rant. I'm your host, Arvin Bautista, and I love comic books. I love looking at them, and I love the art in them. This is what draws me to these books first and foremost, and of course, I love the stories in them. As an artist, it's just the visuals that get me in there, get my butt into a seat. Not my butts, I only have one. My butt into a seat and read a comic book. And because of that, I think I've been kind of changing the format of these episodes of Comix Rant Mini. And I tried to flip through more of it at the very beginning instead of me yapping, and nobody gets to see how beautiful these books are. So this is Kuro by Somato. And they've done books before, a few books before. I've featured one of them, Shadow's House, in a previous episode. And this was the second book that I got when I went to Japan. I went on vacation in Japan. Wasn't that a cool little book dust jacket cover? They got like one of these promotional ad things with some questionable imagery. So you kind of have to be a little careful with some of the Japanese books when you hand them over to your little kids. In any case, this is the first volume of Kuro, and I got this at a store called Book Off, which is their used bookstore branch, which is my favorite place ever in Japan to go browsing through manga. I do not know any Japanese, but I love manga. And I love trying to decipher stories in manga. And also I think because I'm looking at how they're telling the story. And that's part of the fun of these books. And also, of course, the trip when I went there was trying to find storytelling ways. Here at Comix Rant, I love comics so much that if you asked me, I have 3 vices, nerd vices, which is movies, video games, and comic books. And if I had to drop 2 of them and keep only one, it would be comic books in a heartbeat. I wouldn't even think twice about it. I just cannot live without them. You can take my games, you can take my movies, gasp! But you cannot take my comic books, even when they're in a different language. This, Kuro, going back to Kuro means black. And that's the name of this crazy looking cat. Like right at the cover, it had me. And I've been getting into this team's work. Somato is made up of 2 people. I believe they may both draw and both write the stories, but one is primarily the artist, one is primarily the writer. And they do cool stuff. Their stuff is usually this Shadow's House is definitely like this cutesy character set in this creepy world, and I love their execution. Check this book out. As I'll flip through this exactly how I was flipping through it in Japan. The colors, the pages are mostly colored. Now manga is a fast medium. You kind of have to produce this stuff quick. So most times it's in black and white. This stuff they have to serialize. It comes out every week, I believe, like a few pages, 10 pages or something like that. Like an insane amount for like a weekly schedule that you have to pump out. And so I understand that stuff is black and white. So when I flipped through this book, I was kind of shocked because a lot of it's in color, and this stuff is expensive too. You can't just bust this stuff out all the time. The paper quality is really nice. You can't really quite tell on the video, but it feels like this. It's got a nice grit to it. It's not matte, it is matte. It's not glossy, so it takes the color in really nicely. Digitally, it probably looks like super bright, or if it was whatever the original colors and scans for this, it looks like it's traditional, but I can never tell anymore. It's like this watercolory thing. This cat is just so cool. The design of the cat is so cool. It's very simple. It's just got a creepy mouth, but this character loves this cat. And by the way, so for me to read this, I actually went online. There's like scanlations of this book, which was handy, which is very nice because I would be sitting there trying to get my Google Translate to figure out what the stories were. But in similar fashion to Shadow's House, the book is made up of these short slice of life, you could say, creepy slice of life stories. Nothing ever goes full on horror, at least not in these first few stories. So I remember one of my episodes in Shadow's House, when I reviewed it, I was saying how it always drew the line between cute and scary. Look at this guy, it's cool. Cute and scary, and it kind of knew what it was doing. Somato knew what they were doing, and they were totally playing that line, and it was great because you don't know if it's going to turn straight horror all of a sudden. And for the most part, this book does not in the beginning, and I will spoil things for you because I don't care. That's how we are at Comix Rant. But there are monsters. There are full-on monsters, like, spiders and stuff like that. And in this story, like, that's a little bit more horror to me. Tentacles and eyeballs, right? And they do exist in this world. And it's an interesting bit of world building again, which I kind of enjoy from their work, Somato's work, with Shadow's House and with Kuro. And look at this guy. Yeah. She cannot see these monsters, but Kuro the cat can. Because at a certain, it's like, the fiction of the book is, the story of the book is at a certain, you cannot see these monsters unless you take like some drug or some kind of vaccine to see reality as it is. But check these out. So that was all color, so that's why I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta buy this for all, it's 110 yen. That's $1. It's like $1. It's less than $1. It was so great. I don't know why. I spent so long there thinking, like, should I pick this up? Should I get it? So there were 2 volumes of this there at Yokohama Book Off, and I don't know why. I should have just picked up the other one. It was only $1, but I didn't want to spend so much money. In case you haven't figured it out, here at Comix Rant, we are also cheap. I am a freelancer now. I lost my job 2 months ago, and I'm freelancing. It's been fun. I'm working on pixel art video games, so it's super fun. But, I gotta be a little careful with my money. But it was only $1. I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah, Uncle Sam's really gonna nail me on that $1 that I used. And anyway, so let me get back. I just go on off on a tangent in these episodes, but the black and white parts of the book are also cool. I like Somato's the way they handle this. And in Shadow's House, there's a lot of hatching. Here, there's still a lot of detail, right? This wolf face is cool, but it's graphic, and they use, because the cat itself is graphic, very graphic. So it's a certain look that I really like. A lot of I don't really gravitate towards a lot of manga for certain aesthetic reasons, whatever. It's my tastes, right? It's just, I like American comics. And I didn't quite grow up with manga, aside from Astro Boy, which is like really the king of manga, right? So you would think. But I just love the way this Somato team pulls it off. The graphicness and the lightness, and then the added detail, like when it's needed. And then they pull back. And I really appreciate that style, that look. I like the way they balance it, I think. Oh, yeah. So check that out. So they got full on horror. There's like a little kid facing this crazy monster. Eyeball monster, which I don't remember seeing too much in Shadow's House. And I think that might be the genius of that book. And that series, they have I think that's animated now. It's got episodes on Crunchyroll and stuff like that. And anyway, so this book, I think, is older than Shadow's House. This may be, I'm not sure how much older, but it's like, I think one of their, you could say it's almost like a prototype of Shadow's House. But I like it. There's a lot of backstory going on, and I believe the second volume, which I did not buy like an idiot, I think has the other character on the cover, and it's also just gloriously painted like this. Look at that guy. Yep, not creepy. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought, yeah, why didn't I buy that other volume? That was like the second, like Batman Ninja was the first one that I saw at Yokohama. Well, one of the first ones. I totally wigged out. I found that one. And then the second one was this book, which I have been a fan of Somato's recently. So I should have taken it as a sign to buy more comic books. Arvin, buy more comic books. But look, this is cool stuff. Like, yeah, the graphicness, the choice to design these monsters as shadows also obviously carries through in Shadow's house. But this has a little bit more monstery appeal. That Shadow's house, I feel like the Shadow, what are they called? Master? No, Shadow. Oh, I'm blanking out. But the masters, the Shadow Masters that the main character serves is just a silhouette, and then they just leave it at that and let your mind throw the horror in there. But like, I mean, look at this. So there's I'm not sure how this was actually originally presented. I don't know where all these color shorts come from and how it was serialized. Maybe somebody could tell me in the comments if you know how this was originally presented. I'd be curious, because definitely the color segments, they're here too, I suppose. The color segments, I think it must have been in order. It's just, they do a lot of world building in the first few color segments, where it really is just like, oh, cat disappears and the cat likes to sleep in the sun. Just really simple stories. And then it gets into the meat of it, kind of like Shadow's house, towards the latter half of this book. And I think the other book is like that too. I could be wrong. I'm not sure if there are only 3 volumes of this, but in one of the stories, this one's like, this is cool. It ends up starting very action-packed, very horror, and like stuff is going on, and a lot of like the cool, crazy things that this cat can do is shown. But then it ends up being a short story that she wrote, and she says it's not really what Kuro can do. So at this point, I don't think she really knows about this cat per se, or she just thinks it's just a regular cat. But there's weird things going on, like the ants are coming after Kuro and picking him apart into little pieces, and she grabs like other insects to make Kuro up. But all this stuff is supposedly made up by her. I don't know if that is actual fiction, but by the end of this book, there's like straight up action going on, and he can do things. He can he's got these crazy tongue things that he attacks things with and impales things with. And, Kuro is a protector. And then it's to be continued. But yeah, I love this team's work, and it's kind of cool to go to those bookstores and just kind of find it, because I should Google everything up. But I just look at things and I like it and I read it and I buy it. And in Yokohama, I had no idea they had a book like this at all. So I was super happy to run into it by browsing, which I'm hoping you guys are also doing with my episodes. Most times, this is how I pick up things. I look through them and then I buy them. I know a lot of this generation does a lot more digital reading. I've found that I will still buy physical copies of books. So, and I don't know, I just like flipping through pages, flipping through comics and manga and everything. That's kind of like what makes me go, I want this, I want to keep this, I want to have it, I want to have it on my shelf, I want to buy it for $1. Definitely well worth it for me. It's a used book, but kept in really nice shape by whoever sold it back to Book Off. Anyway, that is Kuro, Volume 1 by Somato. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Comix Rant Mini. I like sharing these books with everybody, even though I don't see anybody watching my episode. It's just comics. I hope it's there in like a few years and somebody will be like, oh, I like Somato, and they'll see, oh my gosh, there's Kuro. Just like me finding things in that bookstore is just so pleasurable. I don't know what else to say. It's just so fun. And I want to share that with you guys in every episode of Comix Rant. And that's it for this episode. I will try to share more. I've been cranking out work, so it's been a little harder. But I will try to pump out more episodes so that we can browse through more books together. That's it for this episode. See you guys next time on Comix Rant.